Boundaries is what you set for yourself. Rules is what you set for other people. If you could imagine your aura, you can manipulate the outer layer of it. So like in your mind's eye, you're going to change that outer color. Are super sad or they just got out of a fight, their aura is radiating that emotion out of them and around them.
Welcome to the Citrine Path, a space for healing, transformation, and authentic connection. Join us as we explore spirituality, energy, personal growth, and the journeys that shape who we are. Light the path within and step into the conversation.
Welcome back for another episode of the Citrine Path. I'm so excited to have you here if you're brand new. And then, of course, welcome back if you're a frequent flyer here. I'm Patsy with Violet Elements, one of your co-hosts.
And I'm Amber with Citrine Enlightenment.
And today we're going to kind of expand our conversation that we started a few episodes back. So we're going to talk about some different grounding techniques that I've learned and came across recently, and some different ways kind of to help, I would say, for lack of better words, improve your mood. So I'm super excited. It's been a fun thing to play around with. And again, I am by no means an expert on any of it, but I just like to share fun things that I learn and find fascinating and that I wish I would have known sooner. So take what works for you, leave what does not, and please, as always, do your own research.
I'm super excited about this because we kind of teased about it a little bit the last episode. And you were talking about the bendy straw coming out of the chakras. And so I just got to know more about it.
Where do you want me to start?
For people who are new or may have never heard of Pleiadian grounding, where does this technique originate from?
I'm not really sure where it originated from. There are several people that, again, I don't know if they really do or don't. It's not my place to judge. But channel the energy of the Pleiadians. And so with that, a lot of them have written books and things like that. I think we kind of touched base about that on the last episode. So if you're interested in wanting to know more about it, reach out to us. I can definitely recommend some books from you or for you. But one of the ones that I pulled a lot of my information from when I first started doing research was the Pleiadian workbook. And it kind of is more, I would say, like a technique that goes over learning the Pleiadian and light work in general. Like it gives you like different tasks to do and learn. And that's the one that I found that had the most information about the grounding. And I would say like the one thing that was kind of different about the grounding this way versus some of the ways I had done it before is that this one is very like high frequency meditation almost. It anchors your consciousness and awareness to the earth, like most grounding does. But then there's an aspect of it that kind of connects you to the stars, so to the cosmos, into the Pleiadian star cluster is like the idea of it and like the main way that it's different.
That's super interesting because most of the time when people say grounding, it's connecting their energy to the earth and like bringing them back to center. So I think that's really interesting that when you do it this way, their technique, you're actually connecting to the stars for grounding.
Yeah. And the idea with that is that, again, kind of going back to the whole theory that if you feel like you're Pleiadian or have Pleiadian roots or ancestors or whatever, that you're going to get some source of energy from there. And it's just like how people connect to their indigenous ancestors here on Earth. It's just a way for you to get that connection. So pulling energy from it getting downloads, um, advice, guidance, kind of like the same thing,
Oh, shoot. When you say it that way, it makes a whole lot of sense.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. And instead of like, um, so another thing with grounding, like how, well, like how I taught you and how we used to do it, growing the roots down. The idea was it to like not necessarily feel heavy, but the idea was to feel like very drawn to the earth and down, which in a way kind of gives you a heavy feeling, like if you think about it, because you're wanting to be pulled to the earth. So that like gravity pull down. So with the Pleiadians, it's kind of the opposite. Like it's supposed to be more freeing and floaty. Yeah. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, that's
And
super interesting because, like, the Earth resonates, I believe it's at 432 hertz or something like that. Um, and so that's a lower frequency versus, like, your upper chakras, they resonate at a much higher frequency. So connecting to the stars, I would imagine, we've talked about kind of the last episode, that's a very high frequency resonance that's there. So that's super interesting.
yeah, so just a little bit of difference, but kind of the same technique and theory. It just depends on how you get there, I guess. It's the same results. The idea is to offload negative energy, lower vibrations, feel more centered and in the present. So,
So you talked about the aura cleansing using the Palladian technique. What roles do the Palladians use in like aura cleansing and multidimensional healing?
okay, so let's talk about what an aura is. I think we kind of did a little bit, but just to refresh in case our listeners didn't hit that one. So when I say aura, in the scientific world, it's called your quantum field. And it's basically electromagnetic field that your body puts off, that your meat suit radiates. So it radiates through you and around your physical body. This field is composed of multiple overlapping layers that act as like a communication outward. Okay. It also absorb what's around. So that could be your physical, it can be environmental, but it's basically how other people, so like me, who's super sensitive to energy, if I walk in and a bunch of people are super sad or they just got out of a fight, their aura is radiating that emotion out of them and around them. People that are can tune into that, that's what they're reading. Like some people are like, "Oh, I came in and I could read the room and can tell that everybody's mad," or that's what you're picking up on. Some people can see the aura and it's different colors. So just like how kind of goes along with your chakras. So if your heart is really open and big and has a lot of high energy running through it, your aura is going to be more green. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah,
Am I unexplaining it well enough?
yeah.
Okay. Um, so with that, different colors affect people differently. Okay. So I really like the color purple, but purple necessarily isn't my favorite color, which because of my business and that I wear purple all the time. And I mean, heck, my room is purple, but I really get drawn to blues and greens. Like if I picked my favorite color, usually it's in that, but I mean, it's kind of all in the same like undertoned family sort of. Um, so those colors make me happy. So like you're drawn to lots of yellows and oranges. Um, so if you're in a really bad state of mind, just not very happy, super frustrated, whatever it is, but a more lower vibe mood, if you could imagine your aura, you can manipulate the outer layer of it. So, like in your mind's eye, you're going to change that outer color. So, you're basically going to wrap yourself in a pretty little bubble of yellow. And in your mind, you're like, oh, yeah, this yellow light is surrounding me and shining through me. And that's what everybody's going to see. It's kind of like the fake it till you make it. So now you've just changed that aura of what's being put out, and changed your mindset, because now you got to keep that in mind of, this is what my color is. Yellow makes me feel better. So then eventually it will improve your mood.
That's interesting. So, like, I heard about this little study that they did that if you smile for like over half of the day, even if you don't mean it, it like just makes you happier. And if you do it over the course of like a week, they noticed a big difference. So that kind of reminded me of that, like kind of trick your brain a little bit into feeling better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about it, if you're running around smiling at everybody, everybody's going to be running around smiling back at you. Because it's really hard to walk up to somebody who's smiling at you and not smile back and be like, oh, wow, they're really nice. Or, oh, wow, they have a really great smile. Like instantly, whoever you smile at, it puts them in a better mood, which puts off a better aura or a better communication signal, because you've just made them a little bit happier. Um, and then in return, they're smiling at you, which kind of does the same thing.
So since we're on the topic of auras, how does your aura become like cluttered or depleted or imbalanced?
It kind of goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier. It has to do with emotions, environment, self talk is a big one. So if you're always negative self talking to yourself, then that affects you. Like, I think almost everybody in this day and age knows that affects you, your self talk. Um, and then poor boundaries. Um, Kind of goes with how you allow. So boundaries is what you set for yourself. Rules is what you set for other people. So if you have poor boundaries, then in a way, you're allowing people to treat you a certain way or talk to you a certain way, because it's up to you to withhold your own boundaries. So if you have weak boundaries, then you're just allowing all of that negative energy, because usually that, if you have poor boundaries, it's usually a negative thing that's coming. Um, so that affects it too. And then lack of rest. So if you're super sleepy, and just worn down and on the verge of burnt out, then it's going to be a hard struggle for just about everything. And then, of course, like if you're not eating very well, that affects whole your, your whole body. If you're not exercising, that affects your whole body, and your aura is just like your bat signal that your body is sending out of what's going on with yourself. So you could go to people that read auras or see auras, and they could use that as a tool to help too, just like how we use different tools in our tool bag of to get to what the root cause or emotional thing that's going on. So you could do the same thing with your aura. So if all these things are going on, or even just one or two of them, your aura is going to show that. And then if you're letting things in, so like if you imagine your aura is like a bubble around you. So if you're allowing these negative things to get into you where they're affecting you, you could kind of think of it like these little things floating within your aura, you know. So that's what I think of when someone says clutter, so you have like, you're carrying all this baggage that you don't really need to. So there's a couple techniques. People have different ways of kind of doing it. But like roses is a really popular one. So you basically just imagine yourself with a rose. And you do this kind of in a meditated state when you first start. And again, these are things that you practice. So it's going to get easier and easier to see it in your mind's eye and go through it without like sitting down and concentrating and all the things. But long story short, you imagine holding a rose, and the rose blooms when all these cluttered things from your aura get drawn into this rose. Okay. So then when the rose is full, you plant the rose. Some people like to blow things up, so you could like make the rose blow up in your mind. You could blow it away, kind of like a dandelion. You just like that. I've heard people use a mailbox, and they open the mailbox and all of the stuff flows into the mailbox. They shut the mailbox and it goes back to the sender. So you can use anything like that. That helps. Um, it's usually recommended you start with grounding technique first and really get that down, because that will help with a lot of the stuff too. And then the aura cleansing and manipulating is like the next step. And then it goes on from there. Um, but you could get to where you like put them around you. So you can imagine roses around you, like as you're walking throughout the day, and they're collecting that crap without you. Like they're just doing it on their own because you've gotten to where you can imagine that and like be aware of it. And again, it takes practice. It is still, I mean, I've been working with this for a year, and it still is hard for me to like do it without stopping and thinking about it.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I love that people have kind of taken it how it works for them. Like, again, back to our theme of the season of, do what works for you. And I love the mailbox idea. I think that's super cute, like to return to the sender. I think that's a cute little way to do it. But I mean, with that idea, you do so many things. Like, you know, do like jellyfish hunting in, SpongeBob and get a net and like collect all of them in your aura and like do something with that, or like pop a balloon or something. Like that's such a cool, interesting thing that you can adapt in so many different situations.
Yeah. And, pick something that means something to you that's easy for you to imagine in your mind's eye. Because some people have a really hard time with that. Um, so, yeah, just figure out some type of object that stuff could be drawn to or holds. And then again, you could bury it, blow it away, blow it up, whatever works for you.
So why is grounding so important when doing higher frequency or cosmic energy work?
So I would say, I mean, I can think of lots of things that are like coming to mind with it, but I would say, especially when you're doing anything like that in frequency um, or cosmic work, is that you still have to stay like grounded and tethered here to the physical world. So without a strong connection to the physical plane, which is our meat suits, um, it can be a little overwhelming for your nervous system. It can lead to spiritual burnout, physical discomfort, all of that. Um, so I think that's one of the cool things about the Pleiadian grounding is that its whole purpose is to ground you to the physical, but then still connect you to the stars as well. So you're getting that practice of both. And again, not everybody's going to be drawn to do that. Um, Not everybody's going to get, I would assume if you practice it, just like a lot of everything else, that you'll get the benefit from it. But it just might not be for everybody. Like, not everybody is going to want to do it. I would say if you're interested, try it for a little bit, um, see what happens, and don't be too hard on yourself. Again, it's a practice. It's going to take you a little bit to get used to it, and then you're going to have to tweak it to what fits with you.
So, how does Pleiadian grounding support emotional, mental, or spiritual clarity?
Well, I think any practice that you do that makes you sit and tune into yourself is going to help with that. Um, it does a lot of work with chakra stuff because again, you're going to have to like tune into those. Grounding in general kind of does the same thing. You're going to have to sit and be quiet with yourself. And sometimes when you're in the busy hustle of the day and doing your things, you don't check in with yourself as much of like, oh wow, what do I need right now? Like how am I feeling right now? So like instance with me, if I'm super busy and I'm jumping from job to job and then I got to go to a client, I'm more worried about making sure I'm there on time. I got all my stuff, all of that. But then when I get home and sit down, I'm like, oh wow, my knee is really bothering me. I wonder what I did today to like mess up my knee. But like in the hustle and bustle of it, I'm so concentrated on other things that I may not even notice what I did to my knee or when it started hurting.
Yeah, I that happens to me so many times where I feel like you just go and go and go, and the second you sit down, you're like, "Oh man, I feel like I'm 80. Like, what did I do to myself today?"
And if you could get it to where you could work this into your daily life and make it a daily practice, you could do the grounding up to one, two, three, 4 times a day. So if you just know, like, okay, every these times that I'm just going to sit for a second, check in with myself, take a few deep breaths, and do a quick grounding. Just imagine how much better you're going to feel afterwards. Because every time I do it, even though I'm like, oh man, I don't really have time for this, the way you feel afterwards is almost refreshing. And like you almost have that, like, oh, I want to crawl into a warm bed and go to sleep now, like you're relaxed. But if you can extend that through, almost your whole day, like how much better that would be, especially at the end of the day when you get home. Maybe you won't feel 90, maybe you'll feel 60.
Hopefully. So, is there a little like demonstration you can do with us?
Yeah, so I could go, I mean, it's kind of a long process, not necessarily a long process. There's a lot to it to figure out like your colors, and you'll understand that in a second. But I could give you like a little tidbit of it, and then maybe that might be a fun thing in the future to record just an actual like guided meditation that's on here that people could go to. That might be fun. But yeah, so there's a part in here where you do colors. So kind of like how I was talking about the aura. So you're gonna make your like what do you call it? A slinky tube?
Yeah.
When we first started, what did you refer to it as a slinky tube? So you're gonna change the color of your slinky tube. So that's the part that takes the most time. And it's gonna be one of those things that you're gonna have to work at. So that's like the big practice in this particular technique. So, okay. So this would be just like any other type of grounding meditation that you do. You're going to want to get in. I do recommend that you sit, especially when you're first starting out any type of meditation. It's easier to control your body and your mind if your body feels safe and comfortable. So I do recommend that you're laying down, sitting down, and then eventually you could do this standing up. Okay, so here we go. Ready? So sit in a comfortable chair with your back relatively straight, your feet flat on the floor, hands and feet uncrossed, and your eyes closed. Use your breath to bring as much of your consciousness present and to the center of your head as possible. Let go of any stray thoughts that are inhibiting this process until you feel centered. Take a couple deep breaths. Notice how your body expands with your breath. What parts do not expand? Consciously expand more of your body with your breath until you are inhaling as far down your spine as possible without strain. Just 2 to 4 times until you feel more alive and present in your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Use your breath to bring more aliveness into your feet. For women, bring awareness to your second chakra, about halfway between your navel and the base of your spine. Visualize a tube or a spiral cord of light about 4 to 6 inches in diameter, attaching it to your second chakra. Men, you're going to bring awareness to your first chakra at the base of your tailbone. Visualize the same tube or spiral cord of light about 4 to 6 inches in diameter and attach it yourself to your first chakra. This is your grounding cord. See it extend into the earth while your consciousness remains in the center of your head. See the cord move through the layers of the earth till it reaches the center of the planet, where the magnetic core or gravity center is located. You may feel or see the grounding cord simply anchoring, and you may be unable to visualize it any farther. That's okay. Take a few minutes, gently breathing, feeling the changes happening within your body and your consciousness. Letting go of any judgment, fear. Bringing attention to the areas around your body or emotions. And keep breathing into these areas of discomfort. After you've acclimated to your grounding cord, we're going to visualize the color of your grounding cord changing. Some people can even imagine the texture of the cord changing. So you're going to start with the blues. Change your grounding cord to a pale baby blue. Note any changes on how it makes you feel or think of. Now visualize your tube a royal blue. Noting any changes that you're feeling. Now change your tube to navy blue. Now change it to teal blue. Again, noticing any changes on how it makes you feel, what you think of. Now change your tube to cobra blue. So we're going to mix it up a little bit and add some green to the blue. Visualize the cord a deep turquoise. Now visualize it as a pale aquamarine color. So now that we have completed the scanning for the blues, just remember how each one made you feel, things that you thought of. And for this demonstration, original grounding cord by pulling it down and releasing it into the earth. Now you give yourself a new grounding cord, choosing a color and sending it into the earth. Go ahead and slowly bring awareness back to the room. wiggling your fingers and toes, bringing awareness to your eyes, and fully present. And remember to leave your new grounding cord attached. And then again, you would do the same thing. Release it from your chakra. Imagine it being absorbed into Mother Earth, and then simply attaching a new one. So if you were doing this as a daily practice, of course, you would want to go through all of the colors. So starting with the blues, going through the greens, switching to the yellows, then to the red, even going into different tones of browns, metallic colors, and then just note how they make you feel.
But I do have to say, while I was doing that, my stomach was making some crazy noises. It was gurgling super weird. I'm glad I turned my microphone off, or probably everybody would have heard it.
Oh, interesting.
I was like gurgling up into like my bottom of my chest and stuff. It was super interesting.
Wow, you must have had some stuff in there that needed to let go and was trying to wiggle its way out.
Guess so.
So I have some questions for you since that was technically your first time. And of course, there's a little bit more to it, but the idea is you got your slinky tube that's flexible and is movable, not so rigid and stationary like a root. Okay, so that's like one of the main things. So you could walk around with your slinky tube and move throughout your day and do other things and move around with it still attached. So like if you're like starting to get overwhelmed or you just like had an interaction with somebody that was very negative, you could stop and take a second and be like, "Oh, this is too much energy for me. I'm going to send it down my slinky tube to Mother Earth." So that's why also in it it's you're not going to the center like a lot of the root ones will say go to the center of the earth where you feel the warmth because the idea is for you to feel like an energetically hug from the earth. So this you're going to the center of the gravity pole to the earth because you're letting all of the gravity pull these negative lower vibration energies, emotions down for it to use as energy to repurpose it to something else. Because remember, energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed. So we're giving it to Mother Earth to transform into something else. But it's a tube. So if you're feeling super low energy, you could also tap into that and pull some of that energy that she's transformed back to you. So like if you're doing something and you're just needing that, it's a tube, it goes both ways. Okay? And of course you're going to want to go through all the colors. And then I would recommend journaling it because you're going to want to go through every color you could think of. And like, for instance, with you with yellow and orange, you're going to be like, yellow, I'm going to add a little red to it. What does that color look like? I'm going to take that same color, add a little green to it. What does it look like? And you're going to kind of go through and build your own color wheel of what makes you feel good, all of the different things. So then when you're not feeling that, you could be like, oh, I'm going to make my slinky tube this color because that color makes me feel this way. So that's one way that you can manipulate the color to interfere with your mood and your environment. So when I said things are kind of stepping stones, once you've mastered that, you're basically going to do the same thing with your aura. So that's why your aura is kind of the next step. So practice that, go through all the different colors. It's really great to do right before you go to bed because you're releasing everything from the day, discharging any energy that does not serve you, and then going to sleep kind of in the mindset of a clean slate. And then when you're ready to move on to the aura part, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I really love the idea of journaling it. I know we're both big journal book freaks. I think I will have to write that down because when I was doing it, like I've never been drawn to the color red. I've never liked it, but at one point in time, like I had a really hard time not letting my tube be red. And then at the end, I just kind of like let it be red because I felt like it needed to. I instantly felt tinglies like in between my shoulder blades. So I'm definitely gonna have to write that down and remember that.
Yeah, and red is one of those colors that either people love it or hate it. And it means different things to them. So some people think of red as anger. Some people think of red as love. And then some look at it as power. Again, like you're gonna have to play around with it and be like, oh, well, what does red really mean to me? Like, how did I feel when it was red? Like when you finally gave in and just let it be red? Like, did you feel empowered? Did you feel love? Hopefully, it didn't make you feel angry. But maybe that's what you needed to like release some anger or tension that you're holding in your shoulders. Like maybe that's why you felt it tingly in that area. So it's kind of an experiment. It's a daily practice again, something you're going to have to work at. And I always swear I'm going to remember. I don't. Like, I'll like forget because you're moving on to the next thing. Like my brain for some reason doesn't hold on to things that it doesn't think is die emergency for right now. Um, so I always have to like make little notes, even in your phone. You can make a little note. I love paper planners, so I could do in my paper planner like a brief little thing and then a little section, the notes at the end of the column for today. Like it doesn't have to be a huge detailed thing, just something that you could refer back to later. And then of course, the more you do it, the easier it's going to be like, oh yeah, this teal color made me feel this way. That's what I need today. Like you'll be able to pull those colors a lot quicker once you establish what works for you.
That's super cool. My stomach's still making noises. I don't know if you can hear it. While you're doing this grounding process and this aura cleansing, how does breath work like help or tie into this?
Well, in most meditations, especially people when they're kind of new to it, the breath work is kind of a trick way for you to give you something to concentrate on. That's not your thoughts and stuff that's running through. Um, so you could use it that way. And then anytime that you exhale out longer than your inhale, increases oxygen in your system because it forces you to move out more stagnant air or carbon dioxide out of your body. Um, so there's that. So if you had more oxygen in your body, like think of all the things that would do. Like usually it increases people's focus. Um, usually feels you feel more energized. Um, maybe not as sleepy. So there's like things like that the breath work itself does. So imagine if you just like really concentrated on your breath. Like let's say you've got this practice down of changing your slinky tube color and you feel like you're a pro at that, right? So imagine if you're doing that and you add a really good breath technique, either belly breathing, box breathing, 4-6-8, like any of those like that. If you added that to it, just imagine how much more powerful that would be. Um, and then I still just love the idea of concentrating on your breath. Keeps you present in the moment, but still not focusing on things outside. And again, most of the time, the purpose of meditation isn't to be clear of mind, which was my thought for a really, really long time. But it's allow your brain to calm down, slow down, and release what's not important and give it the space to receive messages and thoughts and work through things that are important there.
You've mentioned quite a few times on these episodes you have the weird, as you say. For other people who may be highly sensitive or have their own level of weird, can this Palladian grounding technique like help them?
Personally, I would say yes. From my experience, everybody that I've shared it with, use it on my clients, use it on myself. To me, it was kind of one of the things at first I was like, well, I don't know about this, like, glowy tube colored thing, Um, but once I started using it and the idea of it being a flexible thing that you do throughout the day, like all of that stuff just made sense to me after I started using it. And then now it's to the point where I don't even really realize that I'm doing it. So again, I don't feel like I'm beating the dead horse here. It's a practice. You're going to have to work with it and give it time, be grateful, give yourself grace. Um, and then if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. So that's the great thing about this is it's a tool to have if you need it to refer back to it. Um, and then the aura part of it, it's basically the same technique and process. You're just changing it to something different that's a little bit harder to imagine and see it in your brain's eye. So that's why working with the grounding one first will help you with the other one. So if you just went straight in and was like, I just really don't want to work on my aura, it's going to be a lot harder because it's a little bit harder to focus on. And if you're not grounded and centered and squared within yourself, that affects your aura anyways. So it's whatever grounding technique you find that works for you, you could do that. And then just really practice and hone that in. And then move on to the aura stuff. Okay.
So, can this be combined with Reiki or other things that we've talked about on the podcast so far?
So it's definitely a type of energy work. So Reiki just happens to be what the Japanese call their energy work. Um, every culture kind of has their own different word for it. With the Pleiadian, they call it light work. So it is just a different form of manipulating the energy around you, which your emotions, if you imagine putting off what emotions you're putting out, can be pretty strong, almost like electrifying experience for other people or people that are sensitive. Um, so just I kind of think of it that way. Like Egyptian culture, it's Ka. In Japanese, it's Ki. It's just a different name or label for kind of the same thing. So of course there's different techniques and stuff that go with it. But I think it's very similar. Like it's the effects of it are very similar. Um, like with Reiki, you do a special meditation before you start, like when you ask the Reiki to flow. It's very similar. Breathing it in with the Palladian light work, it's the same thing. They're asking it to come in through the top of your head, your crown chakra. It also works with your heart chakra, which is very similar to a lot of the Reiki techniques. Um, the one thing that I have noticed that's a little bit different with the Palladians, that they work with some of the other chakras. So, newsflash, in case people didn't know that was listening, you have more than 7 chakras. Which that is a whole other episode that we could do. We'll have to
Yeah.
write that one down.
Yeah. No, and because there's like the 2D and then there's 3D and 4D, and it gets to be a lot.
Yeah. So, especially with the aura cleansing and manipulating and stuff like that, it uses the Earth Star chakra, which is give or take 12 inches below your feet. And then it also uses the soul chakra or what's the other thing they call it? Art's purpose. That it? That's above your crown chakra. So
Oh,
imagine
yeah.
it like ish here.
I've also heard that one called
Um,
like your high heart.
high heart, yeah, high heart, soul purpose. Um, that chakra. Um, so it uses those because if you imagine your aura flows through you and around you, so it's going to affect that chakra. So you're calling in the light energy into the top, um, your soul chakra to come around you, through you at your heart, and through your earth chakra or your earth star chakra. So that's how it connects you to the cosmos, to your soul, and through the ground through your earth chakra. Okay, you just
Yeah.
had that look on your face like I just blew your mind.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because you just said that and for some reason like it just clicked into place like everything. Because you're in a bubble, right? Your aura is what's around you. It's just like your crown chakra is around your head. So for it to enter your energy field, yeah, it's got to go through the other channel first. And the same with your feet. Your root chakra is not at your feet, it's at your tailbone. So you got to go to the one down there to actually get it to push through to get through. Oh my goodness. And then it makes like a figure eight, right? It's like the loop, the current of energy. The number eight is like the continuation of it. Oh, okay. I was not ready for this morning.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like when I first went down the rabbit hole of all of this, it was hard in a way to like wrap my brain around it. But then other parts of it made things super clear. And I had a lot of aha moments. So it was really hard for the parts that I didn't quite know if I could really like sink my teeth into. But then I was like, oh, well, I could take these parts of it and this part of it and like leave the rest because it's like a little far out there. But then the more I dove into it and the more I learned about it, and then the things that I was like, meh, started making a little bit more sense. So yeah. But then again, take what works for you, leave what does not. Um, and then from most of the stuff that we found on our journey, make it your own. You don't have to do it exactly the same as everybody else because your energy, your soul, your body, meat sack, whatever you want to call it, your physical being has experienced different things, affect different things. Um, so just learning new techniques and having new tools. And then like for us, learning different techniques, we could offer our clients different techniques to do the same thing. So like one might not work for them. You'd be like, oh my gosh, great. I know two other grounding techniques. Let's do this. Like you might not have, I have one client that can't visualize to save their life. Like it's just not a thing. Like to ask them to imagine growing roots just doesn't work. So we're like, great, go sit outside by a tree. Just go sit and lean against a tree. So the idea of them sitting next to a tree, they could do. And then if you imagine a tree, you know it has roots. Just go sit by the tree. Lean on the tree for their grounding capabilities because their roots are already down there. And that goes back to the whole thing. If you're having a bad day, go hug a tree. So these little things that people have known for a while and kind of said as a funny thing. Now we know, like, ooh, hugging a tree creates that figure eight loop that you were just mentioning about grounding and energy pull. Um, so it's the same thing. So like that's another grounding technique.
So if somebody wants to go deeper into, aura cleansing or this Pleiadian grounding, what would their next steps you recommend should be?
I'm a big fan of books. So there's a lot of really great books out there. The beginning of the Dawn or the Dawn Bringers by Barbara is a good one. And that kind of talks about like a very, not necessarily, I wouldn't say generic, but a very like basic introduction to what the Pleiadians are. Um, and then, like I said, I think I even shared this one last time. The Pleiadian workbook is a really good one. And this is the one that will like teach you the techniques. And it's a multi-book series. Like there's two that's in this series. And it goes really well with the dog bringers because this will like teach you the technique and how to do light work and how to tap in and doing the aura cleansing and some of the other techniques in there. Um, where the other one will give you like a little bit of the history, I would say, more of the Palladians and like the theories that people have. Um, and a couple people believe different things. So there are other people out there that have other books. There is a lot of great information on Gaia, which is kind of like the metaphysical, spiritual streaming network. I think you could get it by itself, but it's also through, you could access it through Amazon Prime. So there's a lot of great shows on there. I think that there's like three of them right now um, that are all about Palladians. Like one is a lady who channels the Palladians and how she uses it in her business and uses it to help clients. Yeah, I would say that would probably be where I would start with is just finding if it's something that resonates with you because not everybody is going to be drawn to the Palladians and there's others. So um, I do not work with any of the other ones or have like really dived into any of the other ones. Um, but in what they call the star seeds, there's like lots of different energetic beings or like collectives. So this might just be the introduction, and you might like get into there and see some of the other ones and be like, wow, I'm really drawn to this one. Um, so this might just be the entrance to your rabbit hole that you go down. So I would just recommend doing your own research on it, like just Googling it just to get some of the other names and like a description of what they are. Because if you look up Palladians and their characteristics and behaviors, fits me to a T. Like it's not just that we did the muscle testing, it came that way. And if you listen to the other episode that I did that was talking about the curses and stuff. So the Palladians came up then, and that was before I even knew what it was. So I responded to the question not knowing what the Palladians were. And that's what started this whole thing, was because then I had to go home and Google it. So it kept coming up multiple times, multiple times. And then I kept running into people after that said that they worked with Palladians and that they were really drawn to the Palladians. So it was something for me that just kept coming up over and over and over again. And so that's finally when I stepped into it, did a deep dive, and was like, wow, this really resonates with me. This makes me feel really good. And it seemed like, kind of like we had mentioned before, not necessarily something that I was learning new, but it was already so familiar because I think a lot of that has to do that it is very similar to Reiki. And I was weirdly drawn to Reiki and has gone down that rabbit hole. It was such an easy crossover. Like so many of the things were very, very, very similar.
Yeah, and it's funny because like so much of where you started, like when you did Reiki level 1 to now, it just you did things because it felt right. Like when we did the past life regression video, you just did it because it just felt like that's what you were supposed to do at first. And then you've changed it into, what it is today, but it's always you were guided by what you thought you needed to do, and it's put you right into this space, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, and that's another, I would have to say, if anybody, what I want people to take away from this is that there's so much more out there than even what I know. And I would have never thought to look into this. I would have never thought there was even such a thing. And then, now there's some pretty world famous channelers that channel these different energetic beings. So it just goes to know that you don't know what you don't know. And it might seem a little far fetched and might be a little out there for you. Totally understandable. And I would hope it would feel that way when you're, coming across something like this. But just be open minded, move forward with it with an open heart, and learn about it. Because it's not going to hurt you to learn more about it. Like it's not a negative thing, right? And then find out if it is something for you. If it's not, great. Well, maybe you'll cross somebody in the future and they'll be super into it, or they'll be new into it and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I looked into this a while back. You should really read this book, or, and then you've just helped somebody else. So you never know what's going to come of it. Just keep an open mind. Like we always say, do your own research, reach out if you have questions, and just be weird with it.
Just be weird with it. We need to put that on a t-shirt.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this another stepping stone in the Citrine Path. I think this one is super interesting. I look forward to using this more and more in my everyday life. If you guys have any topics you want us to check into or you want to hear our input in, please let us know. Yeah, but have a fantastic day. Go forth with love and intention, and we will see you all next week. Thank you for walking the path with us. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and keep following your light. The views and experiences shared on Citrine Path are for educational, inspirational, and entertainment purposes only, and are not intended as medical, psychological, or professional advice.